Good morning, good morning. We will get started in like a minute or two. But as you guys are coming in, can you please put in the chat what type of business you have, just so I could um make it most relevant for you guys. Okay, online apparel, social media platform. Okay. Yeah, I like to ask folks industries because product-based businesses use QuickBooks a little differently than service-based businesses. So just trying to gauge. All right, we'll get started. Welcome to Intro to QuickBooks. This just a before we really jump into the meat and potatoes, this is for folks who are new to QuickBooks, kind of new, want to get to know the system, trying to decide if QuickBooks is good for them and their business. So we will get started. Real estate, property management. Okay. FSC Sages will open up a daycare. Awesome. We got a good mix. All right. My name is Sharima Sharif. I am an accountant. I've focused most of my career on small businesses and nonprofit organizations. I started working in QuickBooks like 20 years ago. So I've seen every version of QuickBooks. I've also worked in different accounting systems as well. So um, I like to say I specialize in trying to cater QuickBooks to your business needs. Um, I provide QuickBooks training, setup, cleanup, maintenance, and creating a customized system to help you best in your business. I am really passionate about helping small business owners feel at ease with their bookkeeping and QuickBooks. I know it's one of those pieces of a business that most are not most excited about. You kind of dread tax time or you dread getting these things together because you might need it for a specific purpose, but it is really necessary to your business, and I'm here to help ease that burden off of you. I am currently the accounting services program manager for a program called SSBCI under the SBDC. I know a lot of acronyms, but I'll get into what our program does as well. And one of my slogans is, if you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. I am taking new clients, so I'll get into that a little bit towards the end because we are taking new clients and our accounting services are free. So that's extremely useful. So hopefully it'll be helpful for you guys. Am I frozen? Okay, here we go. Have you guys used QuickBooks? So type in the chat, have you used QuickBooks? What's your comfortability with QuickBooks? We have a pretty small group, so we could be a little interactive today. Have you used QuickBooks? Are you just trying to figure out if you would like to use it? Do you use it and you're like, I have no idea what's happening? Don't know which one to use. Okay, we'll get into that. QuickBooks struggle bus. Yes, I get it. Yeah, that's the thing. That's why I'm here to help because a lot of folks are in your same position. Allison, Ashley, Tania, where it's like, I know everybody's telling me I need this thing. And it's like, okay, I get it. And then what? So we'll go through just really what to do in these beginning stages. Okay, so um, QuickBooks is really big. Yes, it is a robust system. So there's also a lot of different versions of QuickBooks. So there are versions that they're creating like it seems like daily. There's the most simple version of QuickBooks um, is actually not even solopreneur. It's called QuickBooks Money, and it helps you do bookkeeping, but it doesn't do bookkeeping. So it's for, if you need an invoicing system or if you need some money, like you need to put all your business money through a system. QuickBooks Money is helpful with that. But we'll go into like the more bookkeeping platforms. Um, so QuickBooks Solopreneur is a basic version of QuickBooks. I'm not sure if any of you guys have heard of it or if you signed up for it, but it is for independent contractors who file a Schedule C with their personal tax return. It's for one man or one woman shows. Um, if you don't have, if it's really just you, you don't have employees, you're not growing past you, if it's just like a side hustle, solopreneur is great. It's not as robust as QuickBooks Online, but it gives you a taste of bookkeeping and tracking your business and personal income and expenses. You can still do invoicing, you can still accept payments and track mileage, if you're traveling, et cetera. It also tracks sales and profitability. So one new thing that QuickBooks is doing is it tracks a lot of your cash flows. So it'll say, okay, this month you brought in this money, but this is the money that you spent. This is kind of your net. So it's kind of useful in that way. It also, all of QuickBooks services offer live CPA support if want to use that service, but Solopreneur uses it as well. It is $20 a month, so it's also the cheapest version of QuickBooks. So if that is, something you're interested in just to get your feet wet, Solopreneur is great. I will say there's currently a Memorial Day sale going on where there's 90% off for your first 3 months. So you could sign up for a Solopreneur for $2. You could sign up for the larger QuickBooks systems for like $350 for the first 3 months. I put the full price on here because those 3 months go by really fast and you'll be paying the full price after the 3 months. But if you're, want to try it out, if you haven't signed up yet, it is like 90% off for the first 3 months going on currently. So QuickBooks Online. QuickBooks Online is a large system that grows with your business. So it is like an accounting system. Yes, you could bookkeep in it and all that, but it's really like a hub for all of your business money, is how I like to explain it. So it gives you a full financial picture of your business. You can see, your sales coming in, you can see your expenses going out, you can run reports, you could do invoicing, you can add your sales channels, and we'll get into that as well. So if you are, somebody mentioned online apparel. If you're selling things through Shopify or trying to think of some of the other ones, Square, Clover, all that good stuff, you can connect it into QuickBooks. So your transactions come in daily, and all you are doing is telling the system that this is for sales or expenses, etc. QuickBooks also has a lot of apps that we'll get into, including payroll, time tracking, inventory management. Um, there's all kind of apps in QuickBooks. As you grow in your QuickBooks, you can add multiple users. They also make it very easy for you to convert from QuickBooks Desktop or another accounting software. So I'll get into this a little bit in setup. If you are even using like Excel right now for your bookkeeping, you can easily transfer into QuickBooks. Which is best for business just starting out, no employees yet? So if you are just signing up for QuickBooks, my suggestion is always to do Simple Start. QuickBooks Online Simple Start is, you get all the functionality, but you are paying the $35 versus there's like 5 levels in between these $35 and $200. If it's just you, and solopreneur isn't giving you the functionality that you need, do Simple Start. And that's like $35 a month after the promotion. Okay. So for those of you who have signed up for QuickBooks, this is your first major step in the system. So this is the bank feed. Once you sign up for QuickBooks, I'll go over a brief summary of what the system kind of prompts you to do. And QuickBooks is starting to use some AI and these new kind of functionalities to help you with setup. So as you set up, you choose, say, for example, you choose Simple Start. You enter in your business information, you enter in, your EIN, what type of business you have, address, all that good stuff. You then come here. When you come here, this screen is the hub for your bookkeeping. It is typically named like bank transactions, but all of your money is coming in here. So you essentially link your bank account to QuickBooks, so your business transactions flow directly into here. Now, this is best and cleanest when you have a business bank account and all of your transactions flow through that business bank account and you have no business money anywhere else. That's the ideal scenario. Now, I do know that some people, might have business transactions on a personal account or on a credit card or on, if anybody uses like Cash App or Venmo, they do not connect here. PayPal does connect, and all the sales channels that I mentioned, like Shopify or Square or Clover, those type of things do connect here. But typically, I would say anything that your business money touches, connected to QuickBooks. It'll make it a lot easier as you're tracking transactions, as you're, trying to run reports, or if it's tax time, all your business money should, quote unquote, live in one place. And this is kind of where it starts. So this brings in your business transactions daily, and this is how you bookkeep. So say, for example, we are in April 4th, 2017. QuickBooks, with their advanced functionality, they make suggestions for your categories. So these categories are your chart of accounts. They become your chart of accounts. QuickBooks gives you 250 chart of accounts to start with. They're your general accounts like sales, rent, travel, supplies, meals and entertainment, inventory. They're like all of these general categories. You can customize them if you want to, if you could change the names of them, et cetera, and add more if you need to. But QuickBooks will suggest that, hey, Bob's Burger Joint sounds like meals and entertainment. And it very well could be. Then if that's correct, if their suggestion is correct, you just click add and you just go down the list. So Carl and Sons Lumberyard materials, you could say yes if that is materials. Now, if QuickBooks does not recognize, or if they don't have a easy suggestion for the transaction, it goes into an uncategorized expense. You then have to click this and say A+ accounting, or there's a category called, I think it's professional services or something like that. You can change it to that and then click add. Or if it's, some kind of fee, then you could, change it to a fee or whatever it actually is. I always say bookkeeping is not hard because as adults, we know if you're spending the money in your business, you know what you're spending the money on. So you could say, oh, yeah, the Amazon charge on here was, some of it was for this, but some of it was for that. And you can split transactions in here as well. So you know what you're spending the money on. You're just telling the system what you spent the money on. So you can definitely change this. I would never put something in uncategorized because it just means it's in an abyss and QuickBooks, doesn't know what to do with it. So you have to tell it where it's supposed to go. Any questions here? Like, have you guys started to use this as I'm going through? Because this is a very important screen. Once you have categorized these transactions, like say you're doing it every single day, which I know most don't, the bank balance and the in QuickBooks balance should match. And that'll help when you reconcile your accounts and when you're pulling reports and everything to show what is in your QuickBooks is mirroring your bank account. Okay, great, not yet. All right. So these are some of the accounts that QuickBooks that they give you of the 250. Money in and money out. For the vast majority of you, if you guys are like, especially if you're opening a business, if you're getting funding, if you are even filing your taxes, you're producing a profit and loss statement. So these are accounts that flow into your profit and loss, and we'll go through how to interpret a profit and loss statement. I believe you do receive a recording. We are recording currently, Allison. So sales, grants, sponsorships, donation, interest income, miscellaneous income is also another account. That tracks all the money that you have coming into your business. So that money is money that comes into your business and that you keep. Notice that like money that you receive for loans or trying to think of another one. Any debt-related money does not come into the income and revenue accounts. That's money that comes in that you keep. So if you get funding, that's a loan, it doesn't live in the income section. Money out one thing that I love about QuickBooks is once you run reports, you actually see how much you spend on things. And some things can kind of shock you, like, wait, I didn't know that these fees added up to this much, or you get to see how much you have spent in a quarter, in a month, in a year. And that's kind of why we're doing what we're doing. So payroll, if you have it, rent, cost of goods sold, if you have products, supplies, shipping, website POS fees, utilities, bank credit card fees. These are things that kind of you're paying throughout the year. And then when you run your profit and loss, you see how much is cutting into your profit. And it really does help you make informed business decisions, to say, oh, we're paying this much in this subscription, but we don't even use it. Or we're paying this much in website fees, but we could go with something a little cheaper. So it really does help you make good business decisions. Does QuickBooks suggest or help with determining how much I should charge? Very good question, Ashley. No, but you can use QuickBooks as a profitability tool. So for example, if you are selling a product, and you're putting your sales into QuickBooks, and then you're putting in your cost of goods sold, it gives you a profit margin, and you can kind of determine, oh, I'm not making as much money as I thought I was on this, or I should charge a little more. I would suggest you to do that outside of QuickBooks though. Like you could do it in Excel, kind of first, just track what it costs for you to sell an item, and then base your pricing off that, based on like the market, but your profitability as well. So we'll get into a profit and loss spreadsheet. If we have time towards the end, because I feel like I'm going a little fast, but if we have time towards the end, I'll pull up a sample version of QuickBooks. There's like a sample company that I use to show, folks how the functions of QuickBooks work. If we have time, I'll go through that, but I just want to go through like the profit and loss and balance sheet. So all those income and expense accounts flow into this profit and loss statement. So I'll read this as if I'm looking at it as an accountant, and hopefully it provides some insight to your own P&L statement. So up at the top, we have all your income. So if I'm looking at this, we have sales, and the sales are broken down. So I told you QuickBooks gives you sales as a chart of account. You can create sub-accounts under sales. So if you wanted to do design sales, product sales, t-shirt sales, like you can create sub-accounts under this. So it looks like 43, 47 in general sales, 38.55 in design sales. We got about almost 11,000 in other sales. My first thought is I have no idea what these other sales are. So it doesn't really describe what the company does or how they're making their money, to categorize it as other. But we total all of these accounts to 19,000 in sales. The discounts given are just discounts on the sales. I don't like that it starts with discounts given, but sometimes you can't control the order in the system. Unapplied cash payment income. So what this means, QuickBooks does not know what to do with certain transactions. So they will put them in these, I call them dump accounts, called something. So it's unapplied, uncategorized. They just kind of dump the things in this account. But if you were cleaning up your profit and loss, I would say look into what this number is. What unapplied cash payment income means is you got paid for a sale, design, or you got paid for a service, and QuickBooks didn't know where to put that money. So typically, if these are your only sales accounts, this number will move up to one of these three. Because it's like you invoiced the customer for $1,400, they paid you, that's a sale. So that money should move up here. And then we have our total income, which is almost 20,000. We then move into cost of goods sold. So cost of goods sold means you are selling a physical product and it costs money for you to produce that product and bring it to market, essentially. So if you are a service-based business, or I know we had like property management and a daycare, that you guys wouldn't necessarily have a cost of goods sold, but if you are selling a physical product, it costs money to put that product together to bring it to sell. So this company has $420 in cost of goods sold, which leads me to believe they're selling most of their sales are from a service, but they could be selling something else in other that's a product. But the good thing is their cost of goods sold is relatively low compared to $20,000. So your gross profit, 19.5. So that's just this minus this. And QuickBooks does all these calculations for you. So if you run a report, it'll look like this, similar. Then we move into expenses. So QuickBooks will list out all of the expenses that you have spent in a period of time. And I'm sorry if there's like some background noise, there's some work being done outside. But I'm not sure if you guys can hear that. But these expenses, any expense that you have categorized in QuickBooks will show up here. So we have bank charges, marketing, meals and entertainment, professional development, QuickBooks payment fees, and travel. QuickBooks payment fees are, if you're invoicing customers through QuickBooks, QuickBooks takes a fee off your invoice, either a percentage or a flat fee, depending on how much it is. And then QuickBooks, takes the money and deposits it into your bank. But the fee associated with that is the QuickBooks payment fee. I'm glad you guys can't hear the noise. Kind of annoying. So in looking at expenses, bank charges are pretty low, even though nobody likes bank charges. Marketing, meals and entertainment's kind of cool, I guess. It looks, if I'm looking at this and I'm interpreting it as an accountant, I would say this person or company has just spent a good amount in travel for professional development. So you travel, you might have gone to a couple conferences this quarter, and you are also eating on your business dime, which is relatively fine because your expenses are still low compared to this $20,000 or 19.5 up here. So your net income is 16,750, and that's just the gross profit minus the total expenses. So this is a profitable business. They don't have overhead, so they don't have like a brick and mortar or anything like that. It seems to me like they're providing a service, selling a little products, and took a couple trips for some professional development. Any questions about profit and loss? What is QuickBooks payment fees? Can you elaborate a little more? Okay. So in QuickBooks, one of my favorite things about QuickBooks is you can invoice customers on QuickBooks. So you can send an invoice to a customer. It goes into their email. They can click pay from their email and they can pay your invoice very easily. Once they pay it, your invoice, QuickBooks takes a fee from it. I believe it's dependent on either how the person pays, or it might be dependent on the amount of the invoice, but I believe it's how the person pays. So you could pay ACH, credit card, debit card, Apple Pay, PayPal, Amex, and there's different fees associated with it, usually 2 to 3%. That money, that little percentage on that invoice gets dumped into QuickBooks payment fees. And that's what makes up QuickBooks payment fees. Okay. So the balance sheet is a separate financial statement that tracks what you own versus what you owe. So income statement tracks your income. That's where you see how profitable you are. Balance sheet is what you own versus what you owe. It tracks your assets, liabilities, and the equity that you have in your business. So you can be really profitable and your income statement could look really good, similar to the last one, but your balance sheet will reflect how much money you have in debt. How much do you still owe? Do you have a lot of assets that you're sitting on? It provides a totally different picture. So assets include, also a balance sheet is a snapshot of a day. So a profit and loss, I think the last one we just saw was a quarter, or a month. I think it was a quarter, but it tracks a specific period of time. Your balance sheet is a snapshot of that day. So for example, the cash in your bank account typically changes daily. Like a checking account, it typically there's some transactions that make it fluctuate up and down daily. So if you run it for a specific day, usually the end of the month, the end of the year, it'll just provide the snapshot of the balance of that day. Accounts receivable. Accounts receivable are IOUs. That's what I call them. So they are monies that your customers owe you. So for going back to the invoicing example, if you invoice the customer on December 31st and they didn't pay you on December 31st, at the end of the year, that's an account receivable that you have sitting on your books. So it is an asset because you will receive that money hopefully soon, but at a specific point in time, you haven't received your money yet. Equipment and inventory. Those are things, your physical assets in your business. That also includes furniture. That includes, your laptop, for example. It could include your phone if you're using your phone for business. Could include a vehicle if you use a vehicle for business. I also advise clients that if you're buying a vehicle for your business, it's a liability until it's an asset. So if you're paying payments on it, it is a liability. And then when you pay it off, it turns into an asset. But equipment, inventory, furniture, those type of physical things, they are assets that you hold in your business. And at the end of the year, when you file taxes and things like that, you and this is getting a little deep into accounting, but you do value those things to see, okay, at the end of the year, I had this much in my equipment and my inventory were worth this much. Prepaid expenses. Those are expenses that you have paid for but not used as of yet. The biggest example I have of this is like insurance. So if you paid your insurance premium for the year, it is an asset because you haven't used that expense throughout the year. So that's prepaid expenses. Liabilities, which you owe, debt. All the debt goes into liabilities. Short-term, long-term loans, lines of credit, accounts payable, are bills that you owe to vendors. So at the end of the year, you might be on a payment plan with somebody, you might owe a vendor some money on a net 30 or a net 60. Those are your accounts payable. Taxes payable. QuickBooks does estimate your taxes. So for example, if you're sending invoices through QuickBooks and you're sending, your customer is paying for an item that is taxable, QuickBooks will pull, oh, okay, you're in Pennsylvania, the customer is in Pennsylvania. So they're going to assume there's a 6% sales tax somewhere involved. So they estimate your taxes, and then, as you run your balance sheet, you'll say, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I owed this much money in taxes. It's just an estimate from your invoicing. And any other short-term or long-term debts. Equity. Equity is the money. It's essentially, if you sell your company today, how much it would be worth. So it's the money that you have invested into your business, the money that your business has made, including like your net income from your profit and loss statement. If you received investors, like money from other investors, that goes into equity as well. So assets minus liabilities equal equity, which is what your business actually owns. So this is a balance sheet example. As I mentioned before, it is a snapshot of a day. So this is March 31st. We have our assets. Current assets are assets that are like used up within a year, typically. So cash, this is our cash on hand as of March 31st, $1,000. Accounts receivable, our customers owe us $450. And then we have petty cash, which is $100. Petty cash is also treated as a bank. Like, say, for example, if you just have cash on hand, if you have a register at a store, if you have, cash that you are holding on to and using for your business, you still account for those things in QuickBooks. So it's all living in one place. Then we have our fixed assets. So this company just has a printer that's sitting on the balance sheet at $250. Now, as I mentioned before, you kind of assess the value of these things towards the end of the year. Because for those of you who have printers, if you pay $250 for a printer 5 years ago, it's not worth $250 today. The value depreciates over time, and some things quicker than others. Also, we have inventory, so $400. It's like that could be consistent from last year, and then, by March 31st, you have to change it again to reflect how much money you actually are holding in inventory. And we have our total assets at $2,200. Then we move on to our liabilities. Liabilities, all the debt. So credit card, $1,500. That's our credit card balance. QuickBooks can if you connect your business credit card to QuickBooks, it'll keep that running total of the balance. So as of March 31st, it has a $1,500 balance. Then we have accounts payable, the money that you owe to vendors, that's $275. Now, if you're just starting out, like I know somebody mentioned, open up a daycare, if you're getting loans or your balance sheet could look, I guess not imbalanced, but it could look, liability heavy, because if you took out debt to fund the business, this section could be a lot higher than your asset section, which is okay for somebody looking at it, because hopefully that'll change over time. But for this company, it's only $1,775. This is good because it shows that your assets can cover your liabilities. So if you liquidated all these assets, you could cover your liabilities and still have money left over, which is great. I think we have a question. Can QuickBooks track or link income from social media accounts? No, because that money from social media accounts should hit your bank account. So if Meta or TikTok is paying you, that money is hitting a bank account that should be connected into QuickBooks. Then we have our owner's equity. So equity is the money that is in the business, quote unquote, usually to start the business or to fund it, to keep it running. So you might have started this business with $250, you put that money in. Retained earnings are, it's the same number you pull from your income statements, your bottom line. That's the profit that you have gained in your business. That money could either be retained in the business and it becomes retained earnings, or you can pay it out to your owner. So if you own your business outright and it's just you can choose to pay yourself, or you could keep the money in the business and use it to fund, say liabilities or for other expenses, etc. And your assets equals your liabilities plus your equity at this 2,200. Will the depreciation be calculated every time you run a report or only annually? So QuickBooks will not depreciate it for you. You would have to adjust the value into QuickBooks and tell it what the depreciation is. So for example, inventory is a good example. So you count your inventory at the end of the year, and that's your new inventory number. Like, it's different from what it was a year ago. It's different from what it was a month ago if you're selling products. So you would just adjust that number. Same goes for depreciation of equipment or a vehicle, etc. How it rules the payments you pay yourself. Okay, so this is a frequently asked questions, like how do you pay yourself? You can, if you own your business outright, like if you are a single member LLC, you can pay yourself however you choose to pay yourself. My suggestion is always, and even if you're using your business for like personal expenses, etc., still pay yourself. You could pay yourself by like a bank transfer. You could pay yourself by check. Something that looks as if and you could pay yourself consistently or inconsistently, but something that looks clean on your books to say, okay, the business wrote the owner a check for this amount as owner's pay. And there is an account in QuickBooks called owner's pay and personal expenses to track if you pay yourself. Now, I would suggest running some of these reports and doing your bookkeeping to see how much you should pay yourself. because you could be paying yourself too much or too little just to see how much you want to keep, how much money you want to keep in your business, etc. So what I will do is, because I do have a little bit of time, I will pull up a sample version of QuickBooks and we could go through a few things in the system. While I do this, you guys can ask questions. Let me know if you want to see anything specific. And I will, if you want to use this test company, I will put it in the chat as well. No problem. I hope this is like not overwhelming, and I hope this is helping you feel a little better about about bookkeeping. Oh, it is, yeah. That's why I like going through the test company, because it's a little different when you explain things just by me saying them versus explaining them in practice. So, what did you say? Please go through reconciliation. Oh, I'm glad, actually. So this is, if you have Simple Start, the home screen might look a little different. This is like an advanced version, but I believe they still give you these tasks. So it'll say categorize transactions. You have overpaid bill, like unpaid invoices. This is like your QuickBooks payments thing that we talked about. This is Craig's Design and Landscaping Services. It's a QuickBooks kind of system. Oh, sample company, I mean. I'm glad you thought it would be more complicated. Yeah, it's really not. It's just knowing where to go in the system and exploring the functionality as you become more comfortable. So I'll go to the bank transaction screen. This is where you link your accounts. If you are starting QuickBooks out, we are now in May. So I typically, if you're just starting out, I always suggest start at the beginning of the year. So when you go to, file taxes for 2025, if you need interim financial statements, you can have it start at the January 1st and you can move forward. So typically, if you are connecting your bank accounts, some banks will only go back a month or two. Some might go back to January. But if you need to import transactions, you can upload from a file and bring in transactions via CSV from your bank. But I could go with, I can help you with that in one-on-one consulting, but just wanted to mention that. So this company has checkings account, savings account, and a MasterCard, credit card enter in. As I mentioned before, uncategorized, QuickBooks doesn't know what to do with these. These are things that might have already been entered in QuickBooks that QuickBooks is now saying, oh, we found a match for it. Like this is a good example. Hicks Hardware, you might have sent them a invoice and they're paying it. And then so you received a check, you put it in the bank, and the bank is, puts Hicks Hardware, give you a check for this amount. QuickBooks is saying, oh, you sent Hicks Hardware an invoice for this amount. Is this check paying that invoice? So it does try to make it a little easier. Yes, I will. Okay. So once all of these are categorized, like you have 25 transactions for today, some people, depending on your transaction volume, I would say you could do this for the month, like once a month should be fine. After you categorize these transactions, you then reconcile your bank. I usually get, this is like intro to QuickBooks, but I have like a level 2 for like once you kind of get comfortable in the system. But you reconcile your bank, which essentially means for some of us who've been, know a bank checkbook and all, it's balancing your bank checkbooks. So you start with the beginning balance of your checking account. Say your ending balance is 1,000, and say you're reconciling for the month ending April 30th. This is just to make sure that you captured all of your transactions in that month. So this is how you catch duplicates. This is how you see if your bank should mirror QuickBooks. So they should both always match at any particular period of time. So this just ensures that it's matching. So you would click all these off. At the end, it should be a zero balance. That's how you reconcile. I'll look at these chart of accounts also. So all of these, I don't think they customize any for the sample company, but these are the 250 that they give you. This BAL means it goes on the balance sheet, and then the P&L means it goes on the income statement. That's a new thing that they just started. Oh, this is custom. So they did, instead of just services, they did landscaping services, and they made these income accounts subcategories. So it's indented a little bit. So they all kind of add up to this landscaping services income. So these are just some of if I'm going fast, or if you have any questions as I'm doing this, please let me know. Legal and professional fees, that's what it's called. Accounting, bookkeeper, lawyer. If you would like to add a new account, you just click new and say, we're saying, I don't know. Say we're saying product sales. The account type is an income account because we're selling something. The detail type, sales of product income. If you want to make this a sub account, you can, and the parent account would be, also as you're adding accounts, always look over here what type of account you're adding. I would also suggest getting this is as you get comfortable, getting assistance on this, because you don't want to add multiple things and you're putting things in 2 different places, etc. So you could put it under here and then just click save. And this shows you where it shows up on your profit and loss statement. So a lot of what you do, like the vast majority of what I do in QuickBooks, is all in this transaction screen. It's bank. This is where you're balancing every day. App transactions are your apps. So Shopify, PayPal, Squarespace, if you sell things on Amazon or eBay, this is where your sales channels apps will come through. I'm not sure social media is on here. Like if Meta's on here or something. It could be though. Receipts, you can take a picture of a receipt and upload it in here. You could also email receipts to this email address and it drops it in here. So you can have receipts in here, and you could just dispose of the physical ones. You could also attach receipts to any transaction. Reconcile, we went through rules. So if QuickBooks recognizes that you are using, like, say, for example, you go to Staples a lot and you get supplies from Staples. QuickBooks might say, hey, you go to Staples a lot, you get supplies from Staples. Do you want to make this a rule to say any purchase that you purchase from Staples is supplies? You can make it a rule, but I caution that because the rule could not always be true. I would say if you're 1,000% sure that it's always going to be true and correct, then you can make it a rule. But you might go to Staples one time and get things printed. You might go to Staples another time and buy supplies. You might go to Staples another time and buy a printer or a laptop. Like, if it's always true, then yes, because it will not show up in your bank transaction screen. So you want to make sure that it's always the case if it's a rule. And then we went to chart of accounts. Recurring transactions are, you can schedule out recurring transactions if it's a monthly bill, like this telephone bill that they might have on auto pay. Or if you're sending invoices, you could do recurring invoices as well, like if you're leasing out a space or things like that. Any questions while we're in here? Payroll is only if you use payroll. Timekeeping is only if you use timekeeping. Expenses, you can, this is for, I love that you could do 1099s in QuickBooks. If you have 1099 contractors, customers, this is where you do, your invoicing for customers. But for you guys that are just kind of getting started and getting your feet wet, just live in this transaction screen. It's really cool and helpful. Just get comfortable with it. And if you need like video tutorials, they have it here. QuickBooks is great with providing like short videos for like what you might need, like reconciling. It's like a minute and a half video on how to do it in each one of those screens. And I will switch back to, I guess, the PowerPoint presentation. How's mileage work? Is it entered manually if you're running a trucking business? If you're running a trucking business and you have consistent mileage, go on QuickBooks App Store and search mileage tracker. They have different mileage trackers that you can use, and you can put in, point A to point B. It'll track the mileage for you, and it'll keep track of it in QuickBooks. It's really, really helpful. Screen's not sharing. Okay. Okay, so as I mentioned, I work for a program called SSBCI. So SSBCI stands for State Small Business Credit Initiative. It's a federal funded program to help small businesses get funding. So we currently have partnerships with, I think, 25 or 26 CDFIs throughout the state to provide technical assistance to help your business get funded. Myself and my team, our services are 100% free, and we help you put your loan package together to get to said funding. So we help with business plans, legal assistance if you need like legal documentation looked over. We have a legal team. We have credit repair and assistance for business and personal credit. We have a partner that helps with that. We help with financial market research. I myself am the accounting person. So when you go out for a loan, they ask for those financial statements that we went over. They ask for those. I help you formulate them. I help you review them. And so you're coming to a lender with clean financial statements. And like I said, all of this is free. So if you feel like in any one of these areas, you're at the beginning stages, we help you. I think you just have to be looking for financing within the next 2 years, and we'll help you get to that point. So if you're like, I have no idea, I need a business plan, I need, financial statements, but I'm like just starting out, we can help you um, throughout that process. And we try to really assist in getting you what you need and getting you connected with lenders, et cetera. And this could be for anything from microloans through buying property, things like that. So you can reach me at sharif@kutztown.edu. I'll type my email address and um, the link to sign up for one-on-one counseling in the chat as well. And you will get a copy of the slide deck. Does the accounting part include tax prep for the business or personal? I have asked. We do not do tax preparation, but we help with getting your financial statements cleaned up and ready for tax prep. So we don't file for you, but we essentially help you get to the numbers that you need to file, if that makes sense. Is there a cheaper alternative to QuickBooks? If you feel like QuickBooks, after going through this, if you feel like QuickBooks is not, you don't need all this functionality right now, I completely understand. I would say if Solopreneur doesn't work for you, I would say track things in Excel. Like just track your business income and expenses in Excel. And sometimes this could be more difficult or not. But if you have, like, say, for example, you have, and Fatima, I don't know what type of business you have, but say, for example, you are selling things through Square and all of your sales are running through Square. All of your sales are in that place. But if you just track your expenses in Excel, it could be so much easier because you could just pull your income down from that system and then track your expenses, and you're still in a pretty good place. And also, QuickBooks is something that like it works when you use it. So when you use the system, it works really well. You get great output, but if you are paying for it and not using it, I wouldn't even suggest it. It's like a good use of your funds. Is there any promo code for QuickBooks? Yes and no. So the SBDC has a half off for the first 12 months, but it's for a elevated form of QuickBooks. So it might be for like the $100 one. So you're paying $50 for the first year, and then it goes up to $100. But if you don't even need that program, you could use Simple Start and pay $35 in perpetuity. So, and I did mention, I'm not sure if you missed it, they are having a 90% off for the first 3 months. So I'll type QuickBooks website in the chat as well. Soon as you go to the website, it'll pull up very largely that it's 90% off for the first 3 months. You can sign up, see if you like it, upgrade, downgrade. It's only a couple bucks for the first 3 months. And then after 3 months, decide if you want to use it. Also, there's a survey in the chat that we would greatly appreciate if you could fill out. And I will type my email address in the chat as well. So if you need assistance with setting up your QuickBooks, if you would like me to go through this with you and customize your QuickBooks to your needs, I would be happy to. How those like sessions usually work is like we're on Zoom and you can pull up your QuickBooks and we kind of work through it. Also, I am in the King of Prussia area, so if you like, sometimes I do in-person meetings, which are kind of fun. Oh, I'm glad you're less nervous. An alternative software I'm looking into is Wave and FreshBooks because I'm a solo business, haven't started yet, just researching and creating faith. Yeah, Wave and FreshBooks are two other ones. I would say look into them. Look into QuickBooks Solopreneur as well, because if you're just a solo business, Solopreneur is easy to use. And also because I'm not sure if you guys know, but the company that owns QuickBooks, Intuit, they also own TurboTax, Credit Karma, and MailChimp. So they're working through a lot of technology that kind of integrates all of them. Like I know one great thing, I use TurboTax to file taxes, even just personally, and I can pull in my QuickBooks data into TurboTax in like a click of a button, and it's like, oh, this was so helpful. So even if and we also do one-on-one consulting to see, what system kind of works for you. Because sometimes the system works if you work it. So if you're like not comfortable with it, or if you sign up and you're like, I'm not really going to use this often, then we could look into something different for you. And you guys, I believe, are all Temple SBDC uh, clients. So please click the Google Doc in the chat for more services that Temple SBDC provides. I think they have a lot of different webinars either this month or next month about like understanding your financials. We partner with them to do consulting, and they could also give you other sources of financing in the area. Any other questions that you guys might have before we hop off? Oh, great. I'm glad. How would you use Excel for single member business? Um, all of the business money going into one Excel. So all of your sales, all of your expenses going into an Excel. That doesn't really help with your balance sheet, but the majority of what you track is your income and expenses. So business money coming in and out. Awesome. I'm glad. You guys have been great. Well, you have my contact information. If you would like to set up a one-on-one, shoot me an email, or you can sign up at the link that I posted in the chat. Definitely check out Temple SBDC's upcoming webinars and information. And you guys enjoy the rest of your Monday and the rest of your week. Thank you.